Story 1. The Caller Who Knew Too Much. Sarah Mitchell had been working the night shift at TechSupport Solutions for 3 years. The graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., paid an extra $3 per hour, and for a single mother with a 6-year-old daughter, that difference meant keeping the lights on. The call center occupied the 7th floor of a converted office building in downtown Portland, and at night, only 5 representatives manned the phones for the entire West Coast technical support line. She knew the routine by heart. Clock in at 10:55 p.m. Grab coffee from the break room where the fluorescent lights hummed with that particular frequency that made her teeth ache. Settle into cubicle 7B with its worn fabric walls and the faint smell of whoever worked the day shift. Her station faced the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the empty streets below, and on clear nights, she could see all the way to the river. Tonight was November 14, 2019, and the weather had turned. Rain hammered against the windows in sheets, and the wind made the old building creak in ways that Sarah had learned to ignore. Her co-workers were scattered across the floor, Marcus in 3A dealing with his usual stream of router issues. Jennifer in 5C probably browsing social media between calls. David in 8D, the new guy who still looked terrified every time his phone rang. And Tom in 1F, the shift supervisor who spent most of his time in the break room watching security camera feeds on his laptop. The first few hours passed normally. Sarah handled 12 calls, password resets, email configuration problems, one angry customer whose printer wouldn't connect to Wi-Fi. Standard stuff. She had developed a rhythm over the years, a professional warmth in her voice that could calm even the most frustrated caller. Her metrics were always solid. Average handle time, 6 minutes 40 seconds. Customer satisfaction, 4.7 out of 5 stars. She was good at this job even if it meant sacrificing her sleep schedule and seeing her daughter only in the brief window between school pickup and bedtime. At 2:17 a.m., her phone rang. The caller ID displayed a number she'd never seen before. 000, not unknown, not restricted, but actual zeros. She frowned at the screen for a moment before putting on her headset. "Thank you for calling TechSupport Solutions. This is Sarah speaking. May I have your name and the email address associated with your account?" Static crackled on the line. Then a voice, male, middle-aged, speaking with an odd flatness that made her skin prickle. "Hello, Sarah Mitchell. I don't need technical support." She maintained her professional tone, though something about hearing her full name made her uncomfortable. Customers sometimes looked up the representatives' names online, left reviews mentioning them specifically. It happened. "I see. Is there something I can help you with this evening?" "I'm calling to warn you," the voice said. "You need to leave the building right now. Don't ask questions, don't tell anyone, just leave." Sarah's hand moved toward the mute button. They were trained for this. Prank calls, threats, weirdos who called just to unsettle the night shift workers. Protocol was to stay calm, document the call, inform the supervisor. "Sir, if you don't have a technical support issue, I'm going to need to disconnect this call. Making threats to customer service representatives is..." "I'm not threatening you, I'm trying to save your life." The voice remained flat, emotionless. "At 2:47 a.m., something is going to happen in that building. If you're still there, you won't survive it." "I'm ending this call now," Sarah said firmly. "Have a good evening." She disconnected and immediately pulled up the call logging system, typing out a brief description. "Prank call. 000000. Caller made vague threats." She considered walking to the break room to tell Tom, but he'd probably just roll his eyes. The night shift got weird calls all the time. Sarah glanced at the clock, 2:19 a.m. She took a sip of her now cold coffee and waited for the next call. It came at 2:23 a.m. Same number, 00. She almost didn't answer, but her performance metrics suffered when she let calls go unanswered. She clicked the accept button. TechSupport Solutions, this is... You didn't leave. The same flat voice. Sarah, you need to listen to me very carefully. I know this sounds insane. I know you think I'm just some random person trying to scare you. But I need you to understand that I'm calling from your future. From a version of tonight where you didn't listen, where you stayed. Where you experienced what's about to happen. Sarah's finger hovered over the disconnect button, but something made her pause. The caller's tone hadn't changed, but there was an urgency beneath the flatness now. Like someone reading from a script they desperately needed her to believe. I don't have time to explain how this is possible, the voice continued. But you need to know specific things so you'll believe me. In 30 seconds, Marcus is going to sneeze twice. Then he'll get up and walk to the break room. Jennifer is wearing a blue cardigan tonight with a coffee stain on the left sleeve. Your daughter Emma drew a picture of a purple dinosaur yesterday and put it on the refrigerator. You haven't seen it yet because you left for work before she got home from school. Sarah's breath caught. Emma. The caller had mentioned her daughter's name. She felt a cold weight settling in her stomach. How do you know? A loud sneeze echoed across the floor, then another. Sarah spun in her chair to see Marcus standing up from his cubicle, stretching, heading toward the break room. That's just the beginning, the voice said. I'm going to tell you exactly what happens in the next 24 minutes. And then you're going to leave that building, Sarah. Because if you don't, if you stay and experience what I experienced, you'll wish you hadn't survived it. Sarah's hand trembled as she grabbed a pen. Who are you? I'm you, the voice said. Or I was you. Or I will be you. Time doesn't work the way you think it does, Sarah. It's not a line. It's a circle, and sometimes the circle breaks and someone falls through the crack. I fell through. I'm calling from 3:42 a.m. on November 15th, 2019, 65 minutes after it happens. And I'm using that hour to try to save us both. This is insane, Sarah whispered, but she was writing now, taking notes because some deep instinct told her this wasn't a prank. At 2:31 a.m., the lights in the northeast corner of the floor will flicker 3 times. At 2:35 a.m., you'll receive a normal call from a customer in Sacramento about a laptop that won't boot. At 2:39 a.m., David will drop his pen and it will roll under Jennifer's cubicle. At 2:42 a.m., Tom will come out of the break room carrying a bag of chips. At 2:44 a.m., the temperature on the floor will drop 15 degrees in less than 10 seconds. That's when it starts. Sarah looked at the clock. 2:28 a.m. 3 minutes until the first prediction. What starts? She asked. What happens at 2:47? Something comes through, the voice said. Through the windows. Except it's not really the windows. It's a place where reality is thinner than it should be. Where the membrane between here and somewhere else has worn down. The building is old, Sarah. It's been here for 83 years and for the last 15 years. Every night between 2:47 a.m. and 3:07 a.m. on November 14th, something has been trying to push through from the other side. You're saying something supernatural. I'm saying the universe has rules, but sometimes those rules break down. I'm saying that at 2:47 a.m., if you're still in that building, you're going to see things that will fundamentally change how you understand reality. And not in a good way. Not in a way that lets you go home and hug your daughter and pretend everything is normal. The lights in the northeast corner flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. Sarah's pen fell from her hand. She stared at the fluorescent fixtures, watching them stabilize, and felt her rational mind beginning to crack. Okay, she said quietly. Tell me everything. Over the next 8 minutes, the caller described events in perfect detail. The Sacramento customer called at exactly 2:35 a.m. with a laptop boot issue. David dropped his pen at 2:39 and Sarah watched it roll under Jennifer's cubicle. Tom emerged from the break room at 2:42 carrying a red bag of Doritos. Every prediction came true with eerie precision. "You believe me now," the voice said. It wasn't a question. "I don't know what to believe," Sarah said, "but you're right about everything so far, so tell me what happens at 2:47. "The windows," the voice said. "All of them simultaneously. They don't break, that would be too simple. They change. The rain stops being visible through them. Instead, you see somewhere else. Somewhere that looks almost like the street below, but wrong. The buildings are different shapes. The streetlights are a color that doesn't have a name. And there are things moving out there, Sarah. Things that notice when you look at them." Sarah glanced at the windows behind her. Rain still hammered against the glass, and the street below was empty and wet and completely normal. "At first we thought it was some kind of hallucination," the voice continued. "Carbon monoxide or a gas leak. But we all saw the same thing. Marcus tried to record it on his phone, but the screen just showed static. Jennifer started crying. David ran for the elevators, but they wouldn't come. Tom tried the stairwell door, but it was locked from the inside, which shouldn't even be possible." "So you were trapped," Sarah said, "and we were trapped with windows that showed us somewhere we shouldn't be able to see. And then the things outside started pressing against the glass, not breaking it, pressing, like they were testing it. And the glass started to bend inward, Sarah. Slowly at first, then faster, bulging into the room like plastic wrap stretched over something pushing from the other side." Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. She looked at the clock. 2:44 a.m. "At 2:51 a.m., the first one came through," the voice said. And for the first time, the flatness cracked, revealing something underneath that sounded like trauma. It didn't break the glass. It just stepped through it like the window was made of water. And it looked at us. It had too many eyes, Sarah. Eyes in places where eyes shouldn't be. And when it looked at us, we understood that we were prey. "Jesus Christ," Sarah whispered. There were 5 of them by the time it ended. They moved around the floor, studying us, touching things with hands that had too many joints. Jennifer tried to hide under her desk. It found her anyway. David tried to fight one. It went badly. Marcus and I barricaded ourselves in the server room, but we could hear the sounds from outside. The sounds of... The voice broke completely, dissolving into ragged breathing. "What happened to the others?" Sarah asked, though part of her didn't want to know. "They're gone. Not dead. Gone. The things took Jennifer and David somewhere. Through the windows into that other place. Tom fought one of them and something happened to him, something I can't explain. He's technically still in the break room, but he's not really Tom anymore. His body is there, but whatever made him human is just gone. He sits there staring at nothing, breathing but not alive." Sarah looked at the clock. 2:45 a.m. "You said it ends at 3:07 a.m., she said. "What happens then?" "The windows go back to normal. The things leave. And if you survived, you're left with memories that no one will believe and trauma that will never heal." I called the police afterward. They came and found Tom in the break room. They took him to a hospital. Jennifer and David are officially missing persons. And I can't tell anyone the truth because who would believe me? "So why are you calling me?" Sarah asked. "If this already happened to you, if you survived, then why?" "Because I found something in the old building records," the voice said. "Maintenance logs from November 14th, 2004, November 14th, 1999, November 14th, 1994. Every 5 years something happens on this date. People disappear. Strange reports. And I realized that this isn't just happening to us, it's a pattern, a cycle. And if I could call back, if I could warn myself, maybe I could break the cycle, maybe I could save us." The temperature dropped. Sarah felt it instantly, a plunge from comfortable to frigidly cold in the space of seconds. Her breath misted in front of her face. 2:46 a.m. "You need to leave now," the voice said urgently. "Grab your coat. Walk to the elevators. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Don't try to warn them because they won't believe you and you'll waste precious seconds arguing. Just leave. The elevators still work for another 45 seconds. After that, you're trapped." Sarah stood up, her legs shaking. She could see her co-workers at their stations, oblivious. Marcus was on a call. Jennifer was typing something on her phone. David was eating a sandwich. Tom was still in the break room. "I can't just leave them," Sarah said. "You have to," the voice insisted. "If you try to warn them, if you wait, you'll be trapped here too. And then I'll have failed, and this call will have been for nothing, and the cycle continues. You have 30 seconds, Sarah, please." She grabbed her coat and purse. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped her keys. "What about you?" she asked. "If I leave, if I break the cycle, what happens to the version of you that's calling me?" There was a long pause. When the voice spoke again, it was quieter, resigned. "I don't know. Maybe I stop existing. Maybe I'm stuck in this loop forever, calling back every time, hoping one version of me finally listens. But if you leave, if you survive, then at least one Sarah Mitchell gets to go home to her daughter in the morning. At least one Emma doesn't lose her mother, that's enough." Sarah walked toward the elevators, moving as naturally as she could, not running, not attracting attention. Behind her, she heard Jennifer laugh at something on her phone. She heard Marcus say, "Yes, sir." I understand the frustration into his headset. Normal sounds, safe sounds. 2:47 a.m. The elevator doors opened. Sarah stepped inside and pressed the button for the ground floor. As the doors began to close, she looked back at the call center floor one last time. The windows had changed. Instead of rain-slicked streets and darkened buildings, she saw something else. Another city, alien and wrong, with towers that spiraled in directions that hurt to look at. And there were shapes moving in that other place, shapes that were turning toward the windows, noticing the light from the call center, approaching. The elevator doors closed. Sarah stood in the descending elevator, shaking violently, the phone still pressed to her ear. "I'm out," she whispered. "I'm in the elevator." "Good," the voice said. "When you reach the ground floor, walk out the main entrance. Don't look back. Go to your car. Drive home. Hold your daughter. And never ever work a night shift again." "What about the others?" Sarah asked. "Marcus and Jennifer and—" "I'm sorry," the voice said. "I could only save one of us. I chose us." The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened onto the empty lobby with its marble floors and sleeping security guard at the front desk. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. "Thank you," Sarah said into the phone. "I don't understand any of this, but thank you." "Don't thank me," the voice said. "Just live. Live for both of us. And if anyone ever asks you about tonight, tell them you felt sick. Tell them you left early. Tell them anything except the truth, because the truth will destroy you." The line went dead. Sarah walked out into the rain. She got into her car. She drove home through empty streets, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. She kept looking in her rearview mirror, half expecting to see something following her, but there was only darkness and rain. When she got home, she stood in Emma's doorway for a long time, watching her daughter sleep. In the morning, she would call in sick to work. In the afternoon, she would start looking for a new job, any job, something with daylight hours and no night shifts ever again. On the refrigerator, she found the drawing her daughter had made, a purple dinosaur with an enormous smile surrounded by stars. She never went back to TechSupport Solutions. She never tried to contact Marcus or Jennifer or David or Tom. She read the news reports about the missing persons, about the man found catatonic in a break room, about the mysterious incident that shut down the 7th floor of that building permanently. And sometimes, late at night when she couldn't sleep, she wondered about the voice on the phone, about the version of herself that had lived through the horror, that had survived long enough to make that call, that had sacrificed whatever existence it had to save her. She wondered if that other Sarah was still out there somewhere, trapped in a loop, making the same call over and over, or if warning her had somehow set that version free. She would never know. But she lived. She held her daughter. She found a new job with daylight hours. She survived. And every year on November 14th, at exactly 2:17 a.m., her phone would ring with a call from 0000000. She never answered it, but she always stared at the screen until it stopped ringing, silently thanking the voice that had saved her life, wondering whose life it might be trying to save next. Story 2. The Transfer. Michael Chen had been working at Premier Financial Services customer service call center for 8 months when he took his first overnight shift. The pay bump was significant, nearly 40% more than the day shift, and he needed the money. His student loans weren't going to pay themselves, and his studio apartment in Chicago's West Loop was already stretching his budget thin. The overnight shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., offered the kind of money that might actually let him start saving something. The call center occupied an entire floor of a sleek glass tower on Wacker Drive, with views of the Chicago River and the sprawl of downtown lights. During the day, 300 representatives filled the space, a constant hum of voices and ringing phones and keyboard clicks. At night, that number dropped to 15 scattered souls, managing customer service calls for the East Coast time zones and the perpetually awake insomniacs who called about their credit card balances at 3 in the morning. Michael's first overnight shift was October 31st, 2018, Halloween. His supervisor, a tired woman named Patricia who had worked nights for 6 years, gave him the basic rundown during his 9:30 p.m. orientation. "Calls are slower at night," she explained, leading him through the dimly lit floor. "They kept half the lights off after 11 p.m. to save energy. You'll get maybe 10 to 15 calls per shift instead of the 40 or 50 you'd handle during the day. Most of them are straightforward. Balance inquiries, lost card reports, the occasional fraud alert. We have a dedicated line that routes after-hours calls, so you won't get the complex business accounts." She showed him to his station, desk 47B, positioned near the windows with a view of the river. The computer was already logged in, the phone system active, the script templates pulled up on one monitor while the other displayed the call queue. "Only weird thing about nights," Patricia said, pausing at his desk, "is the transfer." Michael looked up from adjusting his chair. "The transfer? It's something that happens sometimes on the overnight shift. Maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months. A call comes in that's different from the others. The caller ID shows up as transfer in all capital letters. No number, no name, just that word. And when you answer it, the person on the other end always asks to be transferred." "Transferred where?" Michael asked. Patricia shrugged. "That's the thing. They never specify. They just say, 'I need to be transferred,' and then wait. And here's the weird part. No matter what you do, no matter where you try to transfer them, the call always drops after exactly 90 seconds, every single time. We've tested it. Timer starts when you answer, ends at 90 seconds on the dot." "That's strange," Michael said. "It's more than strange," Patricia said. "It's been happening for years, since before I started. Management knows about it. It has looked into it multiple times. No one can figure out where the calls originate or why they happen. They just do. So when you get one, and you probably will if you work enough overnight shifts, just answer it, try to help them, and don't worry when the call drops. Log it as a system error and move on." She left him alone then, retreating to her supervisor's station on the far side of the floor where she would spend most of the night monitoring metrics and catching up on Netflix. The first few hours passed uneventfully. Michael handled 7 calls, 3 balance inquiries, 2 people reporting lost wallets, 1 fraud alert for a card used in Florida when the customer was in New York, and 1 elderly man who just seemed lonely and wanted someone to talk to about his grandchildren. Standard stuff. The floor was quiet except for the occasional voice from one of his distant co-workers, the hum of computers, and the faint sound of traffic from the street far below. At 1:37 a.m., his phone rang. Michael glanced at the screen and felt his breath catch. Caller ID. Transfer. He stared at it for 3 rings before putting on his headset and clicking the accept button. His hand was already moving to the call timer window, ready to watch the 90-second countdown Patricia had mentioned. Thank you for calling Premier Financial Services. This is Michael speaking. How can I help you today? Static filled the line for a moment. Then a voice, female, young, speaking with an odd echo that made it sound like she was calling from inside a tunnel. I need to be transferred. Michael pulled up the transfer menu on his screen. Of course, can you tell me which department you need to reach? I need to be transferred, the voice repeated. Identical inflection, identical pacing, like a recording played back. I understand, Michael said, maintaining his professional tone. Could you be more specific about where you need to go? Are you looking for our fraud department, billing, technical support? Please, the voice said, and this time there was desperation in it, a raw urgency that made Michael's skin prickle. Please transfer me. I don't have much time. He's coming back soon, please. Michael's training kicked in. Distressed customer, potential emergency situation. He needed to gather information. Ma'am, are you in danger? Do you need me to contact emergency services? No, the voice said quickly. No police, they can't help. No one can help except you. You need to transfer me, please. I've been trying for so long. Every time I call, they answer, and then the line goes dead, and I'm still here, and he comes back, and it starts again, and I can't. The voice broke into sobs. Real, desperate, terrified sobs that made Michael's heart race. He looked at his timer. 45 seconds had passed. Ma'am, please calm down and tell me exactly what you need. Where do you need to be transferred to? Somewhere else, she said through tears. Anywhere else. Anywhere but here. This place. This room. I've been here for so long. The windows don't open, the door's locked. He brings me food and water, but he won't let me leave, and he says terrible things about what he's going to do. And I found this phone hidden in the bathroom, and I've been calling every night, but no one will transfer me out of here. No one will send me somewhere else, and I'm running out of time. 60 seconds. Michael's hand hovered over his keyboard. This wasn't what Patricia had described. This wasn't some inexplicable technical glitch. This was a woman in distress, possibly kidnapped, possibly being held against her will. Ma'am, I need you to tell me where you are. What's your location? Can you see any landmarks? Street signs? You don't understand, she said. I'm not calling from a place, I'm calling from an in-between. From a space that exists only when the calls connect. And when the call ends, I go back. I go back to the room and he's there and it happens again. Please, please just transfer me somewhere. Press the button. Send me anywhere. Maybe this time it will work. Maybe this time I'll actually go somewhere instead of just disconnecting back into 75 seconds. Michael made a decision. He pulled up the transfer directory and selected the first department he saw. Fraud prevention. His finger moved to the transfer button. I'm transferring you now, he said. Hold on, just hold on. Thank you, she sobbed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He pressed the button. The call went silent. 90 seconds exactly. Michael stared at his screen. The call had ended. No transfer completion notification. No error message. Just a disconnected call at precisely 90 seconds, exactly like Patricia had said. He sat back in his chair, his heart pounding. His hands were shaking. That had been real. That woman's terror had been real. The desperation in her voice had been absolutely genuine. He opened a browser and Googled "Missing Women Chicago." Dozens of results. Hundreds. He tried "kidnapped woman calls 911" and found multiple stories about hostages using hidden phones to contact authorities. It happened. This could be real. Michael pulled up his call log and looked at the transfer call. Duration, 90 seconds. No caller ID number, no way to trace it. No recording, he realized with growing horror. The system was supposed to record all calls for quality assurance, but when he checked, there was no audio file attached to this one. He stood up and walked across the empty floor to Patricia's desk. She looked up from her laptop, pulling out her earbuds. "Everything okay?" she asked. "I just got the transfer call," Michael said. She nodded. "Happens to everyone eventually. Weird, right?" "Patricia, there was a woman on the line. She said she was being held somewhere. She was crying. She said someone was coming back and she needed help, and..." Patricia held up a hand. "Michael, stop. I know it's disturbing, especially the first time, but this happens every single time someone gets that call. The person on the other end sounds distressed. They tell different stories, always desperate, always urgent. But it's not real." "How do you know it's not real?" Michael demanded. "Because we've checked," Patricia said tiredly. "Years ago, before I worked here, someone called the police about one of these calls. The FBI investigated. They traced everything they could trace. There was nothing. No origin point, no actual person making the call. It's some kind of system glitch, probably someone's idea of a prank or maybe some weird AI testing or who knows what. But it's not real. The calls come, they last exactly 90 seconds, they end. That's it." But she said, "Michael, every single person who gets that call hears something different. Some hear a man, some hear a child, some hear elderly people. Everyone hears desperation, but none of it is real. It's like a recording specifically designed to trigger our helper instincts. Don't let it mess with your head. Log the call and move on." Michael walked back to his desk, but he couldn't move on. He spent his break searching online for information about the transfer calls. He found forum posts from other call center workers, people who had experienced the same thing at different companies in different cities. The consensus was always the same. Mysterious, disturbing, impossible to trace, but ultimately harmless. But Michael couldn't shake the sound of that woman's voice, the raw terror in it, the specific details about a locked room and someone coming back. His next shift was November 2nd, no transfer call. Same with November 4th, November 9th, November 15th. He worked the overnight shift 3 times a week and the calls were boringly normal. Balance inquiries, lost cards, fraud alerts, nothing unusual. Until November 23rd at 2:14 a.m., when his phone rang and the caller ID said transfer. Michael answered immediately. "Thank you for calling Premier Financial Services. This is Michael speaking." "You tried to transfer me?" The same female voice, but different now. Hollow, defeated. "Last time, you actually tried." "Yes," Michael said, pulling up his timer. "I did. Did it work? Are you somewhere safe?" "No," she said. "It never works. The calls connect, I plead for help. The line goes dead at 90 seconds and I'm still here. Still in this place. Still trapped in the moment when I died." Michael's blood ran cold. "When you what?" "I died," she said simply. "August 14th, 2003, his name was Marcus Webb. He abducted me from a parking garage on Randolph Street, kept me in a room in his basement for 17 days. On the 17th day, he killed me. And somehow, some part of me got stuck. Stuck in the phone call I was trying to make when he found me. I'd hidden his old landline phone under a loose floorboard. I was calling 911, but the call hadn't connected yet when he came back. He hit me. The phone fell, and I died with my hand, reaching for it. 30 seconds. That's impossible, Michael whispered. Is it? She asked. You're talking to me right now. Every night at different times I manage to push through. I connect to random phone systems, call centers mostly, places where people are trained to answer and help. And I beg them to transfer me somewhere else. To anywhere else. Because if I could just be transferred, if my consciousness could be rerouted somewhere other than this frozen moment of terror, maybe I could move on. Maybe I could finally leave. 45 seconds. Marcus Webb, Michael said, typing frantically. August 2003, Randolph Street. You can look it up, she said. You'll find the story. 20-year-old college student disappeared from her job at a downtown restaurant. Body found 3 weeks later. Marcus Webb caught, tried, convicted. He died in prison in 2009, but I'm still here. Still trying to escape the moment of my death. 60 seconds. Michael found the article. Chicago Tribune, August 31st, 2003. Body of missing student found in basement. The victim's name was Emily Vasquez, age 20. She'd been trying to call for help when her abductor discovered her. The phone record showed an incomplete call to 911 that had lasted only a few seconds before being terminated. Emily Vasquez, Michael said. Yes, she replied. You found me. You know I'm real, but it doesn't matter, does it? In 30 seconds, this call will end. I'll disconnect back into that frozen moment in the basement, reaching for a phone that won't save me, dying over and over forever. 20 seconds. What if I don't transfer you? Michael asked suddenly. What if I just stay on the line? What if I keep the call active? It won't work, Emily said. The calls always end at 90 seconds. It's part of the structure of this trap. I exist only in the space of a failed phone call, and that space only lasts 90 seconds. You can't change it. 10 seconds. I'm sorry, Michael said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. Emily, I'm so sorry. I know, she said softly. Thank you for trying. Thank you for being the first person who actually tried to transfer me somewhere. Maybe someday someone will figure out how to break the loop. Maybe someday I'll finally... The call disconnected. 90 seconds exactly. Michael sat in the darkness of the call center, staring at his screen, his hands trembling. He had just spoken to a ghost, a woman who had been murdered 15 years ago, trapped in the eternal moment of her death, reaching out through phone lines, desperately seeking release. He pulled up the transfer system and started examining it in detail. The directory showed dozens of departments: fraud prevention, billing, technical support, account management, collections, executive services. Standard call center routing. But at the very bottom of the list, almost hidden, was one more option. External line. Michael clicked on it. A warning popped up. External line transfers require supervisor approval. Contact your manager to enable this feature. He walked to Patricia's desk. I need you to enable external line transfers on my account, he said. Patricia looked up, annoyed. Why would you need that? We don't transfer customers to external numbers. Please, Michael said. I can't explain why, but I need it just for tonight. Something in his expression must have convinced her, because she sighed and pulled up her supervisor console. Fine, but if you abuse this and transfer calls to random numbers, it's on you. I'm logging that I warned you. She clicked a few buttons, and then his permissions were updated. Michael went back to his desk and waited. Emily called again on December 7th, same time, 2:14 a.m., same transfer caller ID. Michael answered on the first ring. Emily, I have an idea. I enabled external line transfers. I can try to route you to a different kind of number. Maybe something that isn't part of the standard system. Maybe if I send you somewhere completely outside this company's infrastructure, you'll actually transfer instead of just disconnecting." "It won't work," she said, but there was hope in her voice now, fragile and desperate. "Nothing works." "We have to try," Michael said. He pulled up the external transfer feature. "I need a number, any number. What number should I try to send you to?" "I don't know," Emily said. What kind of number would help? Michael thought frantically. A different phone system, somewhere completely unconnected to this infrastructure. His mind raced. "The National Suicide Prevention Hotline," he said suddenly. 1-800-273-8255. It's a completely different organization, different phone system designed specifically to help people in crisis. Maybe if I transfer you there to a place that exists specifically to help people escape dark moments. "Try it," Emily said. "Please try it." 30 seconds. Michael entered the number and cued the transfer. His finger hovered over the button. "If this works," he said, "if you actually transfer, someone on the other end will answer. Tell them you need help. Tell them your name. Tell them everything. Maybe they can help you in ways I can't." "And if it doesn't work?" Emily asked. "Then I'll keep trying. Every time you call, I'll keep looking for a way to free you, I promise." 60 seconds. "Thank you, Michael," Emily said. "You're a good person. You actually care. That's rare." "I'm pressing the transfer button now," Michael said. "Good luck, Emily. I hope you find peace." He pressed the button. The call went silent. He waited, watching his timer. 75 seconds, 80 seconds, 85 seconds, 90 seconds came and went. The call was still connected. Michael's heart leaped. The call was still active. 95 seconds, 100 seconds. The line remained open, silent, connected to the suicide prevention hotline's routing system. At 120 seconds, the call finally disconnected. Michael stared at his screen. Not 90 seconds. 120 seconds. 30 seconds longer than any transfer call had ever lasted. He didn't know if it had worked. He didn't know if Emily had made it through to the hotline, if someone had answered, if she had found her way out of the eternal loop of her death. But the call had lasted longer. That had to mean something. Emily never called again. Michael worked the overnight shift for another 2 years at Premier Financial Services, and he never received another transfer call. He checked the forms, reached out to other call center workers who had experienced the phenomenon. None of them reported any transfer calls after December 7, 2018. Whatever had been making those calls had stopped. Michael liked to believe he had helped, that Emily Vasquez had finally been transferred somewhere beyond the trapped moment of her death, that she had found peace, or at least movement, progress, some kind of existence beyond that frozen loop of terror. He never knew for sure. But sometimes, late at night when he was still working the overnight shift, his phone would ring with a normal call and he would answer it and hear the voice of someone in distress, someone who needed help, and he would do everything in his power to transfer them to exactly where they needed to go. Because you never knew who might actually be trapped, who might actually need saving, who might be reaching out from an impossible place with one last desperate call for help. And Michael Chen had learned that the right transfer to the right place at the right time could save a life, even a life that had ended years ago. Story 3. The Quality Assurance Recording. Rebecca Torres had been a quality assurance specialist at Horizon Insurance's Customer Service Center for 7 years. While other people answered calls, dealt with angry customers, and managed claims, Rebecca listened. She spent her entire shift every night from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. sitting in a soundproof booth reviewing recorded calls, scoring representatives on their adherence to company protocols, identifying coaching opportunities, and flagging potential legal issues. It was solitary work, but Rebecca preferred it that way. She wore noise-canceling headphones, had 2 monitors displaying call transcripts and scoring rubrics, and a dedicated system that let her queue up hours of recorded calls. The booth had a window that looked out over the call center floor, but she kept the blinds down most nights. The isolation helped her focus. The insurance call center occupied a renovated warehouse in suburban Memphis, Tennessee, and ran 24/7 operations. During her overnight shift, roughly 30 representatives handled calls for West Coast customers and emergency claims. Rebecca was the only QA specialist on duty, expected to review at least 40 calls per shift, more if the calls were short. On March 3, 2020, Rebecca arrived for her shift at 7:45 p.m., the same as always. She made her customary cup of coffee in the break room, exchanged brief pleasantries with Linda from the day shift QA team who was finishing up, and settled into her booth at exactly 8 p.m. The call queue loaded automatically, showing 63 calls that had been flagged for review by the system's algorithm. High emotion indicators, unusual duration, specific keywords that triggered compliance monitoring. Customer satisfaction scores at extremes, representative requests for supervision, and random sampling. Standard stuff. Rebecca started with the first call. A customer yelling about a denied claim. Representative remaining calm and professional. Standard escalation protocol followed. She scored it, added some notes about maintaining empathy while enforcing policy, and moved to the next one. By 10:30 p.m., she had reviewed 22 calls. Her metrics were solid. She was ahead of schedule. At 10:47 p.m., she clicked on call number 23. The metadata showed unusual duration, 3 hours and 47 minutes. Rebecca frowned. That was impossibly long. The average call at Horizon was 8 minutes. Even the most complex claims rarely exceeded 45 minutes. 3 hours was absurd. She checked the details. Call date March 2, 2020. Time 11:13 p.m. to 3 a.m. Representative Brian Holloway, ID 2847. Customer name redacted. Claim number error not found. The recording had been flagged by the system under critical review required, supervisor escalation. Rebecca clicked play. For the first 5 minutes, everything seemed normal. Brian's voice came through clearly with the standard greeting. "Thank you for calling Horizon Insurance. This is Brian speaking. How can I help you today?" The customer's voice was male, middle-aged, calm. "Yes, I need to file a claim." "Of course, I'd be happy to help you with that. Can I get your policy number?" A normal exchange. Brian verifying the policy, which the system showed as active. Brian asking about the nature of the claim. The customer explaining that there had been an incident at his property. "What kind of incident, sir?" Brian asked. "It's difficult to explain," the customer said. "Something appeared in my basement, something that shouldn't exist. It's been causing damage to the structure of the house, and I need to know if my policy covers this kind of thing." Rebecca listened more carefully. This was starting to sound like one of those calls where customers tried to make creative claims for things that obviously weren't covered. "Sir, can you be more specific about what appeared in your basement?" Brian asked professionally. "A door," the customer said. "There's a door in my basement that wasn't there before. It appeared 3 days ago. It's not attached to any frame. It's just standing in the middle of the room, freestanding, but it's definitely a door. And when I open it, there's something on the other side that isn't my basement." Rebecca rolled her eyes. People came up with the strangest things trying to get claims paid. "I see," Brian said, maintaining his professional tone. "And what kind of damage has this door caused to your property?" "The area around it has started to decay," the customer said. "The concrete floor is cracking. The walls nearby are developing these black stains that spread a little more each day. And there's a smell coming from the door." Not when it's closed, but if I open it even slightly. There's this smell like rotten copper and something else I can't identify. Have you opened the door, sir? Brian asked. Twice, the customer said. The first time I just cracked it open a few inches. I saw something on the other side, but it was too dark to make out details. The second time I opened it wider. There's a hallway on the other side, but it's not a hallway that should be able to fit in my basement. It extends farther than my house is wide, and there are things moving in that hallway. Rebecca checked the call duration remaining. 3 hours and 39 minutes. This was going to be a long one. Sir, I need to inform you that insurance policies typically cover damage from specific named perils or accidents. A door appearing in your basement would likely not fall under covered events unless you can demonstrate that it appeared as a result of a covered cause like a storm or structural failure. I understand that, the customer said. But this is different. This door, whatever it is, it's causing real damage to my property, and I think it's dangerous. I think something is trying to come through it. Have you contacted local authorities? Brian asked. I called the police, the customer said. They sent an officer. He looked at the door, touched it, opened it, and then he left without saying anything. Just walked out of my house and got in his car and drove away. I called the station to ask what was happening, and they said the officer filed a report saying everything was normal. But he saw it. I know he saw it. He looked into that hallway and saw whatever's moving in there, and it scared him so badly he couldn't even acknowledge it. Rebecca listened to Brian attempting to navigate this impossible claim. He explained coverage limitations. He suggested the customer might want to contact a contractor about the structural damage. He offered to send the claim to a special investigations unit. The customer kept talking, describing the door in meticulous detail. The way its surface seemed to absorb light, the handle that was always cold to the touch even in a heated basement. The sounds that came from the other side when the house was quiet at night. Footsteps, dragging noises, something that might have been breathing. I opened it a third time last night, the customer said, and his voice had changed now, becoming lower, more strained. I opened it all the way. I needed to know what was on the other side. I needed to know what was in that hallway. Sir, I really think you should avoid opening the door until we can get someone out to assess. I went through, the customer said. Rebecca sat up straighter in her booth. The call had been running for 47 minutes now, and something about the customer's tone had shifted. There was a flatness to it, like someone reciting something they'd memorized. You went through the door? Brian asked carefully. I walked into the hallway. It was longer than I thought, much longer. The walls were made of something that looked like concrete but felt organic when I touched it. Wrong temperature, warm and cold at the same time, and there were other doors along the hallway, dozens of them, hundreds maybe, all closed, all with the same kind of handle. Sir, this is... I tried opening some of the other doors, the customer continued as if Brian hadn't spoken. The first one I opened led to somewhere else, a room I didn't recognize, but I could hear sounds from inside, screaming. I closed that door. The second door led to what looked like the same hallway I was standing in, but the doors were in different positions. The third door, when I opened it, there was nothing on the other side, not darkness, nothing, an absence of space. I stared into it and felt something staring back. Rebecca glanced at the call duration. 2 hours and 14 minutes remaining. The customer had been talking almost non-stop for over an hour, describing his journey through this impossible hallway with its endless doors. Brian occasionally tried to interrupt, to redirect the conversation, to explain that this wasn't something the insurance company could help with. But the customer kept talking, his descriptions becoming more elaborate, more disturbing. I found a door that led to my own living room, the customer said. But it wasn't quite right. The furniture was arranged differently. There were pictures on the wall of people I didn't recognize. And I could see someone sitting on my couch. It was me. Another version of me. He was watching TV, completely unaware that I was watching him through the door. I almost stepped through, almost tried to talk to him, but something stopped me. Some instinct that said if I went through that door, the door behind me back to the hallway would disappear. The call continued. The customer described more doors. One that led to a vast dark space filled with stars that didn't twinkle right. One that opened onto what looked like the surface of an ocean, except the water was flowing upward instead of crashing down. One that showed a city made entirely of hands, millions of hands reaching up from the ground like buildings, grasping at nothing. I found my way back eventually, the customer said. Back to the door that led to my basement. But I'd been gone for hours. When I checked my watch, 7 hours had passed. But it had only felt like one. And when I came back into my basement, I realized something had followed me. Something followed you? Brian asked. He sounded exhausted. Rebecca checked the duration. 1 hour and 8 minutes remaining. I can't see it, the customer said. But I can feel it. It's in my house now. It moves through the rooms when I'm not looking. I hear it at night. I hear it opening and closing the doors upstairs, all the doors. Over and over, like it's searching for something, like it's trying to find its way back. Sir, I really think you should... And the door in my basement has changed, the customer said. It's not the same as it was. When I look at it now, I can see things moving on the other side, even when it's closed. Shapes pressing against it from the inside. And yesterday I noticed something new. There are more doors appearing. In my garage, I found another one. In my bedroom closet, another. They're spreading through my house, multiplying. Soon, I think every room will have one. Soon, I think my entire house will just be hallways and doors and whatever is on the other side of them. The customer talked for another hour. His voice never changed pitch, never showed emotion. He described the doors with scientific precision. He talked about the thing in his house, the sounds it made, the way it seemed to be learning the layout, opening and closing doors in patterns. And then, at the 3-hour and 42-minute mark, the customer said something that made Rebecca's blood run cold. I think I understand now, he said. I think I know what the doors are. They're not portals to other places, they're recordings. Every door is a recording of a moment, a place, a version of reality that was captured and stored. And the hallway is the archive. It's where all the moments that didn't quite happen, all the possibilities that were almost real get saved. And I walked through it, I looked at them, and now I'm part of the archive too. Sir, Brian started, but the customer kept talking. There's a door appearing behind me right now, the customer said. Right here in the room where I'm making this phone call. I can see it forming in the corner. It wasn't there a minute ago, but it's there now, and I know where it leads. It leads back to the hallway. It leads back to the archive. And the thing that followed me home, it's standing next to the door. I can't see it, but I know it's there, waiting. It's been waiting for this moment. For the moment when the door appeared in this room. Because that's what it was searching for. That's what it's been opening all the other doors to find. The door that leads back. Please, sir, if you're in danger... I'm going to open the door now, the customer said. I'm going to step through it, back into the hallway, and I'm going to close the door behind me. And the door in my basement will disappear. And all the other doors that appeared in my house will disappear, and it will be like none of this ever happened. Except for this phone call, this recording, this moment captured in your system. This will be the only proof that I existed, that I made this call, that I filed this claim about an impossible door. Sir, please don't... Thank you for your assistance, Brian, the customer said. You've been very patient. I appreciate it. I'm going to hang up now. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to... The call disconnected. Rebecca sat in her booth, her hands shaking, her headphones silent. She looked at the call duration, 3 hours and 47 minutes. She quickly searched the system for Brian Holloway's employment records. He had worked at Horizon for 6 years. Good performance metrics, no disciplinary issues. She pulled up his schedule. He had worked the night shift on March 2nd, had clocked in and out normally, had handled 7 other calls that night besides this one. Rebecca sent him a message through the internal system. Need to discuss call from March 2nd, customer claim about doors. Can you provide additional details? The response came back 15 minutes later. I don't have any record of that call. Checked my logs for March 2nd, nothing unusual. 7 standard calls, average duration 12 minutes. Are you sure you have the right date? Rebecca checked the call metadata again. It clearly showed Brian Holloway as the representative, but Brian claimed he had no memory of the call. She pulled up the customer information, but the name had been redacted and the claim number returned an error. She tried searching by the phone number the call had come from. No results. The number didn't exist in their system. Rebecca spent the rest of her shift trying to find any other evidence of the call. She checked billing records, quality scores, supervisor escalation logs. Nothing. The call existed only as this single recording in the quality assurance queue. At 3:47 a.m., she made a decision. She exported the audio file to a USB drive, copied the metadata, took screenshots of everything related to the call. If this was going to disappear from the system, she wanted proof it had existed. When her shift ended at 4 a.m., Rebecca went home and listened to the entire recording again. 3 hours and 47 minutes of a man describing an impossible door in his basement and the hallway of infinite doors beyond it. The next night, when she came in for her shift, the call was gone from the queue. Not deleted, but simply absent, as if it had never been there. She checked her USB drive. The file was still there, but when she tried to play it, the audio was corrupted, just static and fragments of words. Rebecca searched every system she had access to. No record of the call, no record of the customer. Brian Holloway still insisted he had never handled any call matching that description. Over the following weeks, Rebecca became obsessed with finding evidence of the call. She started listening to every recording more carefully, looking for any mentions of doors, hallways, impossible spaces. She found nothing unusual. Until April 17, 2020, when she was reviewing a call from a different representative and heard something in the background. A faint sound barely audible beneath the representative's voice and the customer's questions. The sound of a door opening and closing, over and over. Not the representative's door or any door that should have been audible in a call center. This was different, distant, echoing. Rebecca isolated the background audio and amplified it. The sounds became clearer, doors opening, doors closing. And beneath those sounds, something else. Footsteps, multiple sets of footsteps moving through spaces that shouldn't exist. She started finding the sounds in other recordings. Not every call, but enough. 1 in every 20 or 30 calls had the faint background noise of doors opening and closing. Always distant, always barely audible. As if the recordings were picking up sounds from somewhere else, somewhere beyond the normal audio capture. Rebecca tried to report it to her supervisor, tried to explain what she'd found. But when she played the recordings for him, he couldn't hear the sounds. Only Rebecca could hear them. Only she had listened carefully enough, isolated the right frequencies, paid enough attention to notice what was hidden in the background. On June 9, 2020, Rebecca was reviewing a call when she heard something new. Not just doors and footsteps. A voice. Faint, distorted, speaking words she couldn't quite make out. She isolated it, amplified it, cleaned up the audio as much as she could. The voice said, "The archive is growing. More moments being captured, more doors appearing, more people finding their way in. Listen carefully. Listen to the spaces between the words. That's where we are. That's where we're stored. In the recordings. In the moments that were captured but never fully existed. Listen, listen, listen. Rebecca stopped reviewing calls after that. She requested a transfer to day shift, to a different department, anywhere that wouldn't require her to listen to hours of recorded calls in isolation. Her request was denied. QA specialists with her experience were too valuable. She was required to complete her scheduled shifts. On her last night working quality assurance, July 31st, 2020, Rebecca was listening to a random call when she heard her own voice in the background. Faint, distant speaking words she'd never said. "I'm going to open the door now. I'm going to step through. I'm going to..." She ripped off her headphones and ran from the booth. Rebecca Torres quit Horizon Insurance the next day. No notice, no explanation. She just left and never came back. She sometimes still hears doors opening and closing when the world is quiet. She hears footsteps moving through spaces that don't exist. And late at night, when she's alone, she swears she can hear her own voice calling from somewhere far away, describing an impossible door in a basement she's never seen, filing a claim for damage that hasn't happened yet, trapped forever in a recording that plays on an endless loop in an archive that exists between moments. She never listens to recordings anymore, not of any kind. Not voice messages, not old phone calls, not audio files of any type, because she knows the truth now. She knows that every recording is a door, every captured moment is a portal to somewhere else. And if you listen carefully enough, if you pay close enough attention to the spaces between the words, you might hear what's on the other side. You might hear the archive calling back. And once you hear it, it never stops listening.